everyone. Welcome to Dice Jailers. I'm Jordan,
I'm Bjorn.
and this week we are going to talk about games that are definitely still on the tabletop, but they are
Yes.
not necessarily RPGs. We're going to talk about our
Yes.
favorite board games and card games and whatnot, for just hanging out and playing with the friends when you don't want to take a long, protracted time to do a new thing. Or maybe you
Yeah,
do with a few of them that I'm going to mention.
exactly.
But
Like fifth edition is amazing and it's great and D&D is awesome and we've talked about it a lot.
yeah,
But you can't just kind of hang out and play D&D while still chatting about all sorts of non-game stuff, or at least I can't. I get very engrossed and sessions take a long time, and
yeah.
sometimes you just want to have a really relaxing game with friends as part of an evening of other things.
Yeah, and I don't think I mentioned it on the show yet, but I'm a polyamorous person, and 90% of polyamorous dating is just game nights, so I play a lot of games. Uh,
Exactly.
but before we get into talking about some of our favorite games, Bjorn, how you been, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Doing all right. The bummer is the cat. She had to go to the doctor today. She has a procedure that
Mm-hmm.
needs done, and I'm an animal lover, and so living with an animal for a decade is pulling on my heartstrings. And she's a nervous animal. She hates being away from home, but found out she'll
Mm-hmm.
only be gone probably just a day. So that'll be good. That was my one big stressor. Otherwise, not bad at all. Did a lot of good writing for both our current campaign and the next one that's coming up down the pipe. I can't remember if I mentioned on stream, but I know I told you that I spoke to someone who knows how to help us do sound for
Oh yeah,
camp.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think
that'll
you
be
mentioned it on stream, but you told it to
yeah.
me.
Mutual friend of ours, Randy. He's been learning how to do sound and video editing during the pandemic, which has worked out great in that he offered to just work the sound for us. So if we do have to have Casey Skype or Zoom in or whatever, he knows how to pick up the sound well enough that in post production, all our audios would be balanced. So that's one step closer to it actually happening, and
Yep.
that's fun to think about.
That's
Uh,
weird. It's weird. It's gonna be
I know.
cool, but it's weird.
Yeah, once our current campaign ends, we'll figure out what kind of gear we need and go from there. Wow, this
Yep.
this thing could really happen. That's
Yeah, it's still weird.
gonna be
It's
awesome.
weird. It's weird. Everything's weird.
Yeah, yeah. What about you? What's good? What's kicking?
Been having fun. Setting up for getting a lot of information and a lot of like things set up. Uh, so that and reminders set up so that I don't miss a bunch of Juneteenth things this week. As well as you all remember him from a few of our one shots. Saint, we're doing his bachelor party this weekend as well. Uh, and because I know he's not watching right now because his fiance has him busy doing things, uh, and he won't see until before we put a paper bag over his head and kidnap him to where we're having the party. Uh, the entire bachelor party is going to be us drinking and playing D&D. So I'm putting together a one shot that I'm ripping blatantly from Final Fantasy 15. Basically, it's just Final Fantasy 15 if they were able to get onto the ferry and go as planned. That is the one shot.
And there's nothing wrong when you're writing stuff. I just want to say of just straight up ripping something off from a established story.
Oh,
I encourage it highly. I've been encouraged highly to do it, and there have straight up been things from our campaign that I have just poured it over from other stories or been highly inspired by going, yeah, I want to put this in here
yeah,
because I like that. And it makes the writing a little easier because you know where you want to go next.
it does. And like I had the plan for this like a month ago when we just first started talking about what we should do for the bachelor
Mm-hmm.
party.
Yep.
Um and I didn't start actually writing it until last night. Um so my brain is a little fried because I've just
You
been doing that all day. Just this big old Google Doc with my plans, uh, as well as like contacting other people to get their input for NPCs of them, because
nice.
all of both of their families are going to be NPCs,
Oh,
or at
sick.
least I'm gonna try. Like I'm gonna put them in
Yeah.
the world, and if they see them, then they see them. and that kind of stuff. And so it's gonna be some crazy nonsense, but I can't wait to play it.
You mentioned something there. I want to jump back to it. I want to touch on for a minute. I want to speak to the white people for a second. You mentioned Juneteenth and
Oh yeah.
white people. Um, Stop asking your black friends when their Juneteenth parties are, or if you can go and shit like that. That's actually really fucking insensitive and rude. Like
Yep.
I didn't even know Juneteenth was a thing until a few years ago. That's how poor our history education is.
Hmm.
And in learning about it, what should be done is one, if you do have black friends, it's a great day to just leave them the hell alone unless they want to talk to you. Um, it's a lot to mentally go through to think about. And if you really want to support, find black owned businesses and spend money on them. Anything you were thinking of spending at Amazon, that weekend is a great time to just spend it on local black owned businesses.
Hmm.
Takeout. There are some fabulous
Oh,
places you can get
no matter
takeout
where
in
you are.
Seattle. Yeah. And that should not just be during Juneteenth or just during Black History Month or any of that. That's year round, man. There are some delicious places, and you can easily find that on your filter. And I've seen just some shit on social media with people asking about that stuff, and frankly, it pisses me off. So I'm just saying, white people, fucking stop, please.
Because really, like, Google exists. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah,
Google it. And you know
I'm
what? If you do
excited
have
for.
someone invite you to, like, hey, we're having a cookout, and they invite you, that's great. Go. Don't ask.
Yeah, it's a thing that like we didn't plan to talk about this, but here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely the one of the biggest things that you can do as an ally for celebrating Juneteenth is just to let Black folk rest, like
Yeah.
because if you're trying to learn what you can to be a better person and be a better ally and a better friend, you probably heard of the term code switching, and that is exhausting as all fuck. Uh, and so a big thing to help can just be just leave us alone so we don't have to code switch for a day.
Yeah,
Uh,
because the fact of the matter is, if you're white, you've been on the receiving end of code switching.
yep,
It's a survival mechanism, and fucking give people a day off. Just do it. It's
yep.
really the least you can do is leave someone alone. Like seriously, it's not hard to leave people alone. I mean, I'm a total curmudgeonly recluse, so I'm great at leaving
That
people
yeah,
alone.
you are really good at leaving people alone.
Yeah,
It's one of your better
yeah,
skills. One
it
might say
is.
you're proficient in it.
I
Uh,
am. I have expertise. I have expertise. If I
right.
wasn't a DM, I would not talk to my friends as often as I
Oh
do.
God, yeah, you probably wouldn't.
I
Oh
wouldn't.
God,
I'd still talk to you guys some, but I'm
that'd
writing
be
this game.
terrifying.
I go and I do all this work, and I love it. And I love that you guys go into
Mm.
this world with me. But yeah, I wouldn't talk to people anywhere near as much. Just how it
You know,
is.
and speaking of avoiding people, one of the ways that you can avoid most people is
Mhm.
just stay at home on a night and play games with one or two people.
Yes, you can. And that's the segue.
Segue
That is the segue. We go from being incredibly heavy to here's our chicken shit
from
segue.
Juneteenth to board games. Let's go, babies.
This is why I legitimately love our show because it's just
What the hell? Because
I
what the
know
hell are we doing?
stream of
Imagine
consciousness.
if we had. Imagine if we had writers.
Oh man,
Fuck.
they would. You know what? You know that scene in Game of Thrones where Tommen just goes out the damn window. That would be our writers, 100%. They would write something,
Oh
they'd give it to
God.
us. This
And we
romper room
just
fuckery would happen, and they just go right out that window. Like done.
oh
Yeet thyself.
God.
Um,
But yeah,
yeah, there
board
are
games.
yeah, there are a lot of great games out there. And not all you don't always have time to play something really lengthy. And also a lot of people don't know about some of the games that are out there. Um,
Yeah.
like people will hear about games that adults can play, and you'll always hear the same response: Settlers of Catan.
Yep.
I like Settlers Catan. It is a fun game. I own a copy.
Hmm.
I'm also
I've got it
tired.
on VR, because
Yeah,
that's a thing.
a lot of us have played it, and if you're introducing someone new to Catan, I think it's a great gateway to some of the other
Yep.
games out there. But it's not the only horse in the race.
Hmm.
I've got one in my hand right here that I have to bring up first and foremost. Suro,
Oh, Zero.
Game of the Path.
Oh, yup.
So I first encountered Suro, I want to say it was like 2004, maybe. I was a volunteer for the company WizKids at a Comic Con down in LA, and Suro was fairly new at the time, and I was running demos of this game, and I fell in love. Just overnight, loved the game. Bought a copy from the booth, brought it home, showed it to everyone I could to play it. Eventually ended up donating my copy because I bought the full Suro 3 set from Kickstarter of Suro, Suro of the Seas, and Suro
Hmm.
Phoenix Rising. Um, but if you can get your hands on Suro, the Game of the Path, it literally takes 5 minutes to learn how to play. My only recommendation is to have somebody who's played it before playing, just to speed up the learning process. If you
Hmm.
have one person who knows how, I think it's up to 8 people can play, and a game takes literally 15 to 20 minutes. Even if you're
Hmm.
the first person out, there's a new game starting in like 10 minutes. You can use strategy. You can use just sheer luck. You can fly by the seat of your
Sheer luck is
pants.
what I do.
That's how I play it, and it's fun. It's fun. It can be competitive, but it's really easy to play. And my favorite thing about it is really an all ages game.
Yep.
Um, Maybe you're having a game night, and you know what? Maybe somebody had to bring their kid with, or they couldn't come. I am not a kid person. I have no children. I am not upset about that. But I also understand the reality that if you're having a gathering, one of your friends might say, "Hey, we can't make it unless we can bring our kid along because our sitter just canceled." If you're playing games like Suro, and if your friend base is cool having a child around, like I said, if you have a kid, don't assume everybody wants your kid around. Don't just assume
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
But if this
Even
game is,
if, I don't know, your friends are teachers,
yeah, they've,
usually they don't want to see any damn kids
nope,
after they
they have
are
had
out
their
of
fill.
work.
Yeah. But in the case of a game like Suro, I would say ages 7 and up could play this game. I've taught kids how to play it when I was demoing it. They learn it quick, and it's fun. And even with the short attention span, they can stick with one game long enough. So
Hmm.
that's another winner for it. If you're looking for somebody who needs more games in their life and you know they don't have Suro, get it for them. They'll
Hmm.
enjoy it. And I could spend this whole hour talking about Suro, so I'm going to shut up.
Suro's so fun. See, I'm gonna talk about two two different games that I feel like, uh, people's feelings about them are intertwined, if
Okay.
that makes sense. And it's these two games, because things that I really like to look for in board games or in like group card games
Yeah.
is, I look for, does it go quick? Can you teach it quick?
Yes.
And does it not cost much to get quick for a game night? Because like sometimes you're like, I want to bring a new game, but that one's $60. I'm not gonna drop $60 on a game that maybe isn't gonna be fun.
Yeah. If
Uh,
you've never played it, price point can be a big limiter.
and these two games, they have a bunch of expansions and offshoots. Uh, and it's kind of become almost trendy in like the game world, if you play a lot of board games all the time, to hate on these games because they're so mainstream, but
Mhm.
they're fucking fun. These games are Munchkin and Flux.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On Munchkin, I have got Shakespeare Munchkin. I've got Critical Role Munchkin. I've got
Yeah,
Axe Cop Munchkin.
there's a Munchkin offshoot of whatever fandom you are in, whatever
Yes.
thing you enjoy. There is a Munchkin of it, and I think like it's kind of become trendy in the game world to like, oh, it's Munchkin, it's so mainstream. Yeah, it's mainstream because it's good and it's fun.
Yes.
It's a very simple card like dungeon crawler feely game where basically you're competing against each other to have the strongest character to whatever level you decide to set in house rules, because everyone just does house rules because
Yeah.
it's been a game for so long.
Yeah.
But it's super fun. It's super chill. It's super low key. If you are like many of my friends, when we have board game nights, we like to drink the alcohol while we're doing board game nights. And Munchkin and Flux both are such great games for that. Might be a little hazy because you're a little inebriated gaming night. Because they're both super super simple. I mean, everything is just cards.
Yes.
And yeah, there's gonna be a little math, but it's really fun to watch your friends be bad at math.
And what's also great about them is they both have really good mechanics for messing with other people,
Mm-hmm.
which, because it's in the spirit of the game, I have never played Munchkin or Flux where anybody at the table really felt harassed by the messing with other people mechanics. It all goes in good fun. What goes around comes around. And,
It always does.
and I'm with you. Like, I absolutely love Munchkin because you can have somebody about to win and the entire rest of the table just turns on them.
And just, oh, you're about to win? No, you're fucking not, boy.
Beautiful. It keeps the game going, and it's always hilarious. And then finally, when someone does ultimately win, they usually win because they've been sitting on a card all game that allows them to auto win a fight that they were just waiting for everyone to dunk on them, and they just go, oh yeah, none of that matters because I have this. So
None of that matters because I still win, motherfuckers.
yeah.
And that's one of the things I also like to look for in board games, is that bit of fun and a bit of like getting to fuck with your friends a bit. Because I am a trickster god. This is
Yes.
just a thing we know. And so I love when in a game you can just like, all right, so I'm going to take my turn and I'm going to do this, and no, you're fucking not.
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, we're talking about playing games with your friends. This is not people you barely know.
No,
This is not your coworkers.
no.
These are people you legitimately want to spend time with. So why wouldn't you play games that you're going to have fun with? Some of these games, you may have friends that they really wouldn't enjoy these mechanics, and in that
Yeah.
case,
There
maybe
are some
don't
people
bring
that
it
get
up.
hyper competitive, and
Yeah,
that's unfortunate for them.
it is. But frankly, if you know anybody who likes Uno, and I frankly think Uno sucks, but that's just because I'm bored with it. But
Yeah,
if they do like it, and they love to stack draw fours, which I don't care what the rules say, I'm stacking draw fours. I don't care what it says. Rules is written my ass.
the official company can tweet the rules all they want. We know what we grew up with.
Exactly. Stack the draw fours. You're gonna draw until you drown in cards and die, and I don't care.
Absolutely.
But anybody who likes to do that is going to enjoy Flux. They're going to enjoy Munchkin because it has those mechanics. And anyone who who likes RPGs, if they haven't played these games, will very much like Munchkin because it's a very simple RPG type game. And also, like you just said, they go great with a night of drinking because the rules aren't that complicated.
Yes, and the biggest, really, like, with all of those other mechanics aside, one of my favorite things about Munchkin and Flux both is that the games go quick.
Yes.
It's because there's two different in my brain. There's really two different kinds of board and tabletop games. The ones that take too long, and the ones that are, all right, it's done, let's do another.
Exactly. And I want more of that second one. I don't.
Not gonna lie, I do love
Risk.
me. I love me some long game. Like, I was gonna talk about Risk specifically because, and this is because of Andrew Shanks. If any of you have watched other episodes, you'll remember him being around, producer and writer for the podcast The Ugly Radio that I'm on.
Yep.
He has been trying for years to get a good group together to play a version of Risk called Risk Legacy. I don't know if you've
So,
many
this
people
sounds
have not
terrifying.
heard of many people have not heard of Risk Legacy before.
Oh,
And there are a number of other older board games that have legacy versions now. But basically Risk Legacy is where uh you play a regular game of Risk,
okay.
and then when that's done,
Yeah.
you start another regular game of Risk
No.
influenced by the regular game of Risk that you just finished.
Oh my. Um. So
It's
I don't know
definitely
how
meant to be played over multiple days and multiple sessions.
you're familiar with the existence of Greek mythology, yes?
Yes. Oh yes.
I want to help you revisit the story in Hades of Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill. It gets to the. I feel like Risk Legacy is the most Sisyphean task I have ever heard of, because the whole point of playing Risk is to finally get to that end before you starve to death. And as I'm about to reach the end of the game, someone goes, "Oh, we're starting the next one." I would just
Yep.
watch the boulder go down the hill.
We're starting the next one, and things have changed because time has passed from when the last person almost took over the world.
Wow, you've got
Yeah.
to really love Risk to play that.
And it's really really cool. Like, I've read through it a number of times, and I, much like Andrew, have been waiting and waiting to find people to play it with.
I love the concept because it sounds very New Game Plus of an RPG.
It is.
And I love that concept. It's just one game takes so damn long. If
Yep.
if the game length could be shortened, I would be all about it. But I kind of tap out
I
about
mean,
the third hour of Risk.
you could always play the truncated game rules for Risk,
Sure.
because they have that in there too, which that cuts down. Yeah, that cuts down a Risk game down to like an hour maybe.
Which, I think makes it more playable. I understand people not wanting those truncated rules, but that multi-day game of Risk is definitely
Yeah.
not what we're talking about here
See,
and not advising.
because oh no, I am advising it because it sounds wonderful to me, because that's
you
just such heavy strategy forever.
Yeah, you mentioned something interesting. You talked about how when you play things like Flux or Munchkin, you like to drink the alcohol.
Yes.
Now, some
Oh,
games,
were you going to talk about our favorite game?
some games involve so much focus you probably shouldn't have the alcohol. Some games it's optional, and some games, while it's not required, you could say it's encouraged. I want to talk about
Yep.
Drinking Quest.
I almost pulled that out of the shelf, but I know that you were going to bring it up.
I love the Drinking Quest series of games. I own every single Drinking Quest game. And like this is my copy of Drinking Quest 2, signed by Jason Anarchy from when I met him. Very, very nice gentleman.
Mhm.
These are created by a guy out of Canada who goes by the name Jason Anarchy, who, in a conversation with a friend, it was talked about, what if you made an RPG where you had to drink? And he set to work on it. And he made an RPG card game where drinking is built into the mechanics. You play
Mhm.
as one of 4 characters, each character with their own signature ability, and the quests are done via cards. A single adventure takes anywhere between an hour and a half to play. And what I love about the rules is it says drinking. It doesn't say alcohol quest, meaning if you have friends who don't drink for whatever reason, if they are in recovery, they don't like alcohol, they're
And
deep.
whatever their reason is, it's none of your business unless they want to tell you.
Exactly. But for whatever reason, if they're like, well, I don't drink alcohol, you can go, that's fine. The rules flat out state it can be any beverage you want. And as a matter of fact, there's a rule in here where you have to chug or finish your drink, depending on what happens. If your character dies and you come back, you
Yep.
have to finish your drink. Well, it even says if your drink was alcohol and you want to change to a non-alcoholic beverage after that, you're welcome to. Sips and gulps are considered by the player. You get to control the rate at which you imbibe
Mhm.
your beverage.
Which is very important if you are playing a drinking game and drinking alcohol, because you need to be safe, because We like, not dying.
Correct. But yeah, the Drinking Quest games are a lot of fun. They're silly. They're tongue in cheek.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of Drinking Quest 2 because it features the character Yeti Vetter, who is a
Yep.
Yeti. Uh, Big fan. The mascot is a nearly shirtless barbarian named Chuglocks. Love me some
Chuglots is my
Chuglocks.
boy.
Yeah, he's the best. But yeah, it's quick, it's silly, and it even reminds you on the bottom back here. Please quest responsibly. It
Mhm.
is. It's also fairly inexpensive. You can find them right online. They have a website, and if you want to get your hands on a copy of Drinking Quest, order it. Or once conventions come back, find out which cons he'll be at.
Yeah,
He usually mans
super
his booth
super pleasant
himself.
dude.
He really is, really is. Chatted with him multiple times, and as a matter of fact, next time he's in Seattle, we're talking about actually getting together for maybe a round of Drinking Quest because I told him I want to
That would
play
be
his
cool.
actual game with him. And
That
if
would
that
be
doesn't
super
happen,
fun.
I'm at least buying him a beer. But if the idea of a game that encourages alcohol at all bothers you or encourages drinking at all, maybe you don't want it in the home for whatever reason. And again, your reason is your business.
Hmm.
That's fine. Another game by the same dude that is fun, really interesting, and very unique. It's called Haiku Warrior.
Oh yeah.
And what is amazing about this game, it is very simple and similar to Drinking Quest in that it's RPG style, where you have stats and skills, and the quests are on the cards. Every single card has a haiku on them. Every last one. And I think that's just a fun level of artistry into this.
Hmm.
Um, it's yeah, I can't say a ton about this outside of it's just unique and it's fun, it's quick, it's easy to play, and the whole adventure is done through haiku. You're trying to
Yep.
find, hats and trying to just excel in your existence. One thing to know about both Drinking Quest and Haiku Warrior, they're set up for between 1 and 4 players. Yes, you can play these games solo. They have rules for that, which
Mm-hmm.
is another reason I recommend them. Solitaire is a very popular card game for a reason. You
Yep.
don't need someone else to play it. There's nothing wrong if you're kicking around by yourself and you want a game to play to pick up a card or a board game. And most games you can't play solo. These ones you can.
Yep. Speaking of games you can't play solo,
Yeah.
I would like to talk about. Uh, it's not necessarily my favorite game, but it is the board game that has the most memories attached to it for me, positive and
Candyland.
negative. Surprisingly, no.
Yeah.
Uh, didn't play a whole lot of Candyland outside of Grandma's house. But this game has so many strong memories along with it. Betrayal at the House on the Hill. It's one that like people that play board games a lot definitely know and have heard of before. But if you haven't, definitely get in on this one. Because Betrayal at the House on the Hill, you are playing a horror game that you will never be scared in. You will be startled, and you'll turn to your friend and go, "You're an asshole." But you will not be scared. Because Betrayal at the House on the Hill, you go through, and as you're exploring this house, eventually you gather items, and eventually the haunt comes up, and there's a bunch of different kinds of haunts that are randomly rolled, and something horror movie like happens, and you have to try your best to survive or solve the horror. Or my personal favorite one is there's an alien one that is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Uh, but to
Fun.
explain why I love this game so much is I have so many strong memories attached to it. Because my old roommates and I, what 2 sets of roommates ago now, uh, we would always like we'd have a lot of board game nights,
Yeah.
and we would pull out Betrayal at the House on the Hill to play. We would get about to the haunt, and all of us would be not in our sound minds enough to really figure out how to make the haunt work, and we would give up. And there are so many nights that I recall sitting on the floor at my house, and all of us are, wait, what? No, what does this? No, you know what? Forget it. Why do we even like this game? Of course we like this game. We play it all the time. But do we? And yes, we do. But this one, it's definitely a board game for the people that like to play board games,
Right.
because some of the haunts are very, very specific and kind of confusing. Others of them, real light, easy, quick to figure out. Uh, we always manage to roll the ones that have like way too long of information for us, and then we give up because we are simple people. But that's also part of the fun.
You sound like 9-year-old me trying to play like almost any game ever, where I'd read
Yeah,
half of the instructions and be like, I'll figure it out. And I just made up my own rules for it anyways.
yeah, but with Betrayal, you really can't do that.
Most games you actually can't do that, I found, and you just don't do a very
What?
good job of playing it. Um, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
I can see the fond memories. But yes, make sure you're going to play a game you're going to stick with through the end.
or get a bunch of people who are on your same level of quitting, so that you can also have fond memories of going, do we like this game? We play it all the time. No, we don't like this game. Yes, we like this game. Do we? I don't know.
But again, making sure that everyone's on the same level, I think, with any game is important for the level of investment that's going to go in it. Like, I've got I've got jokes for days about the idea of things like Risk Legacy. But if you have a group of people that want to have that level of investment, that's something true and worthwhile. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's no different from a D&D campaign that goes for nearly 3 years. I
Well,
mean,
it's a little different because Risk Legacy has tanks.
D&D has tanks. I played one. It was a barbarian.
Okay, I mean, you know what I mean.
Tell me, tell me I'm wrong.
Tank, not colloquial metaphor tank.
Clank, clank, I'm a tank, whatever. Paladin in plate armor. Same thing. Same thing.
How is
Gonna,
there not a game just called Paladin and Plate Armor?
I don't know. I mean, it's should be. I'm just saying though, man, you get a decent level paladin, versus a friggin', Sherman tank. I'll put good odds on that paladin.
I'd still put my money on the tank.
The paladin can take at least one good hit. I don't think that tank can take a divine smite. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe. Depends
Especially
on how divine is the smite.
true, true. Better odds with the cleric. Just cast heat metal.
Rude.
Yeah.
Rude.
Roast everyone inside.
Rude. Insubordinate and churlish.
Yep. This moment in Dice Jailer is brought to you by the spell Heat Metal.
The reason why so many animated enemies in 5th edition are immune to fire damage.
Sure are. Have to be. Going back to the well of games,
Yeah.
I saved this one because I can talk about this one for a long time, possibly even longer than Suro. This is, and I bring this one up for a few reasons. It is affordable. What my copy cost me, I want to say maybe $20. Might have been 25 if it was expensive. So not that pricey. It's quick to learn how to play. You can have this one is 2 to 6 players, although if you have the expansion, that can increase to 8 players. When you have that many players playing, can increase the length of a round. It's cards, so it's portable. It's coup.
Ooh,
This
yeah.
is above all else probably my favorite game. When the first time I was introduced to coup, I was the very first person out in the round I played, which I actually found helpful because I got to watch everyone else play. And after that first round, I understood how the game worked. It's a very simple game. You are dealt 2 cards face down. There are 5 classes in the deck, and you're given a card that tells what all the classes are and what they can do. And the reason for that is when it hits your turn, you can take a single coin to build up your financial resources. You could try and take 2 coins, but there are cards that can counteract it. Or you could take an action as one of the classes in the game. You do not have to have the card that you're taking the action of. Now, someone can challenge you at any time, suggesting you don't have that card. If you don't have that card, you lose a card. If you do have that card, they lose a card. When you lose both cards, you're out of the game. This game moves fast. This game can get intense. And this game is fun. I had a night of gaming with some of the Shakespeare folks a couple years ago, and I brought Coup. And there were multiple games brought. And I think Coup was the second game we played that night. It was also the last game we played that night because we spent about 4 hours playing Coup in rotations, in and out. And no one got tired of it because every game is going to be a little different. It has levels of deception.
Yeah.
It is just fun, and especially in a nice big group. Because again, if you like to have the drinks, you can have the drinks with this one. I cannot recommend it highly enough, especially if you also buy the expansion that adds on the Inquisitor card. It is similar to another card in the original deck called the Ambassador, which I think is the best card because you get to look in the deck and see some of the ones that are in there compared to your own, put them back. You get more knowledge with that one. The Inquisitor, you straight up get to take
for those people that like to count cards.
Yep. The Inquisitor, though, would be a card that Jordan over here would love because you straight up just get to take one card out of an opponent's hand, look at what it is, and then you can hand it back to him. It's
I'd love doing that. That's a great card.
You have that. And they have the option of exchanging it after that because you found out what they had. But it's just a little thing. It's info gathering. You get to mess with people, and any card that in any game that has levels of deception, strategy, and also a certain level of violence, because there is an assassin in there who your assassin, you're just straight up killing their cards. It's great. It's fun. Unless they have the Contessa right here who stops the assassin.
Yeah. So now you mentioned things that you enjoy, things being fast paced, there being a little bit of deception, a little bit of subterfuge, also a bit of murder. And we all know that you very often are in murder mysteries.
I am. I'll be in one this Saturday.
Then may I direct you? Also, do you like cowboys?
I mean, moo buckaroo, let's saddle up.
Well then, I'd like to direct you to the game called Bang.
I have heard of Bang. It's so bad. It looks so fun.
Yup. I've only played it a couple of times, but basically, if you remember, if many people played this game at summer camp, a game called Mafia, where you have to figure out who's the sheriff or who's the bandit, or well, in Mafia you figure out who's the mafia, who's the townspeople, and who's the a bunch of different NPCs. But in Bang, it's the sheriffs versus the bandits versus regular townspeople.
Yes.
And the regular townspeople can be deputies and work with the sheriffs, or those deputies can tell the sheriff to fuck off and work with the outlaws. And all in the middle of this, subterfuge trying to figure things out, you're also shooting at each other, metaphorically, by rolling dice.
Yep.
And it's just very quick and fast, and it does have those character cards that people sometimes like and each character has their own special ability and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's, are you lying to me? Shoot.
Yeah, I've known people who've played Bang. I've seen it. It looks so fun. That is on my list of games I really, really want to play. Because again, it's quick, it's intense, and it's got sort of that level of deception. If we're going to talk about games that are like Mafia, I'm going to bring up Werewolf.
Yep. I was going to bring up Werewolf. Specifically because of the slight offshoot of Werewolf. But we can talk about that further when we get into Werewolf. It's a One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
Oh yeah. I've seen that one.
Basically it's Werewolf, the not the director's cut, the speed run.
It is, yeah. It's a speed run. It just plays fast, dirty, quick.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm also big on games like Werewolf, where it has a section at the beginning where, and it's on your honor. And I will say this: if you cheat at one of those type of games, you are a bad, bad person. You're ruining fun for everyone else. I have never and would never cheat during the part when it's like, okay, if you're one of these things, put your head up and look around.
Hmm.
I'll be the person who's trying to figure out a way to go, hey, you know what? Um, if we do this where only people look up and they put their heads down, unless everyone leaves their head down for a couple extra seconds at the end, whoever looked up last, their eyes are going to be non-dilated and everyone else's will be from having their face down in shadow. So we all need to do this. We're all recovering the same so we don't get any free information. Like,
Wow, you're
I
you're one of
will,
those. Uh, I don't think about those kind of things because I want the game to go quickly.
I do too, but here's the thing. I if I can find a way within the rules of the game to get an upper hand on other people, I absolutely will. But I don't want to break the rules of the game because while I do believe in sports that the term if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
See, that's where I'm at.
I
Uh,
believe that. But in board games, there's a level of sanctity.
yeah. Well, there's a difference between like games where your literal ability to lie to people is part of the game, as opposed
And that's the
to
thing too. Like I'm a
yeah,
shitty liar, so that's
yeah.
why I don't want to have
See,
upper hand.
Trickster God here. Um, great at it. Uh, but like I always say talk to your group before you play a board game and see if you will allow slight cheating.
Sure.
And by that I mean if you don't get caught, you're fine, and if you get caught, you have to do something ridiculous or penalizing that you talk about beforehand. Because I always enjoy encouraging the lost art of palming a card or
Sure.
having some extra dice up your sleeve or some shenanigans like that. If you can do it without getting caught, do it.
Well, I actually think you touch on a great point there. We've talked about the
It's a
importance
game
of a
within a
session.
game.
Yeah, we talked about the importance of a session zero for like the role playing game. It's sort of a variant on that for any game you're going to play. Like
Totally.
if you know that's like, I can be a little cutthroat or I kind of like to play a little dirty when I do this, go ahead and let people know. Because the thing is, if one person is doing that, but nobody else knows that they were going to, and then it gets found out, it can ruin the fun for a lot of people. We're here to
Yeah.
have fun. But if it's a case of it's like, if people go, nah, if you don't get caught, it don't count, then it's okay. It adds a whole new
Them's the
element to
rules I
the
like.
game itself. Yeah.
Them's the rules I like. If you don't get caught, you're fine. Which it works very well in the games that Cyanide and Happiness make.
yes.
Trying to playing with cheating subtly allowed. Oh, works wonders for those quick and fast party games. Uh, yep. Just when you start up game 2, steal your favorite card, slide it up your sleeve.
Yeah. See what happens.
Always elect to shuffle and never trust the person who wants to shuffle.
No. Anyone who goes, I'll shuffle, unless they see you struggling with shuffling, don't trust them. Just go,
Yep.
I've got this.
And don't trust what I sometimes say, which is, oh, I just like to shuffle absentmindedly with my to have something to do with my hands while we're waiting for everyone to get snacks and stuff. Don't trust that. It's a lie. It's a
It
very
is.
good one. It's
It
a
is.
lie.
Yeah. Tell them you'll give them something else to do with their hands. See if they keep wanting to do it. Who knows? Maybe they
Why
will.
did I
You know,
just out one of my favorite tricks on the internet? I don't
I
know.
don't know, but it's there now, and you got no one to blame but yourself.
I've got other ones.
There is a we talk about price point being a item that can keep one out of a game. I think
Truth.
another thing that can keep people out of a game is how many players it requires to play. You've got to think about that. Some games can be played with only two. Some games you really need 4 to 6, and some you need 8+ to play for it to truly be fun. And there is a fabulous game out there. It could be a little cost prohibitive, and you do need a big group to play it. I
Right.
don't own a copy completely because I don't see myself having a chance to have enough people around to play it that it's worth spending the money. But I'm going to bring
Okay.
it up because it's a ton of fun, and it's called Shadowhunters.
Interesting. Haven't heard of
The
this
art,
one.
the art on it is very, very anime, and there are three kinds of characters in it. There are the hunters, there are your shadows, or basically monsters, and there are the neutrals. And the light is working together, the dark is working together, and the neutrals all have their own win condition. And
Ooh.
you draw cards to ask questions of other players to try and figure out what their characters are, because your character card is face down until you decide to turn that card face up and reveal what you are. For progressing in the game, there's a spiral that shows how much damage everyone has. And it also has pictures of all the various characters on it. So if someone's marker's taken so much damage that you see they're past certain characters, you know they're not them. So you can kind of rule things out. And your questions can be, let's say a hunter has been revealed. We know they're the essential heroes of it. And if I drew an orange card that said I can ask somebody a yes or no question, and you have to answer honestly, and I handed it to you, I can ask, and only you and I know what's on the card. I could ask you, would you be happy if they were killed? Now, if you're on their side, you would say no. If you're against them, you would say yes. But that doesn't necessarily tell me exactly where you lie, because you could also be a neutral that has some sort of variance to it.
That has particular win conditions.
And that's how you gauge what people are until it gets to the end. There's a big knockdown, drag out fight to the finish to see who wins everything. There is one of the neutrals. The neutrals have generally two win conditions: either survive to the end or meet this condition. My favorite character in the game is a neutral that their win condition is be the first one killed. If they're killed first, they win the game.
That is phenomenal.
Yes.
I don't think I've heard of a mechanic that I like more.
Yeah. And there's a combat system to it. Yeah, there's a combat system to it. Like, you move around the board, but you really need like 8. I want to say you need like 8+ people to really play it, because of the number of characters. If you don't have a large group, you just don't get the full experience on it. And I think the game costs like $60. So it's not cheap, and you need a large number of people. But I will say, if you have that gaming group that
that
you guys gather
a lot,
and there are lots of you, I can't recommend it high enough. I believe Shadowhunters, I believe, is the name of the game. Did you find it?
No, my brain just remembered a thing.
That's all I have to say on Shadowhunters, because again, I don't own it, so I can't go into it that much more. But I played it multiple times, and I effing love it.
I realized that one type of board game that we have not really talked about at all, and that's because they can get kind of stale if you play them a lot. Sure. And these are the trivia games. I do love me some good trivia games, and I found one on the clearance rack at Target a number of weeks back, and I haven't been able to play it with my friends yet, but we've read over some of the cards, and they're not bad. It is proper trivia.
Good.
And it's a very simple trivia game. It's called Cone of Shame. And not gonna lie, I bought it because it was on sale, and I think it's going to be hilarious. Yeah, and it's called Cone of Shame. It's definitely a game for that that group of people that likes to have inebriants while playing board games.
Oh yeah.
But straight up, and much like many of the card games that we've talked about that you can find that people like to play ad nauseum, like Cards Against Humanity and Apples to Apples and whatnot, which we could have mentioned about games we like, but we've both played them so many times that
Yeah, I'm
eh,
bored with both. I'm completely
the
bored with both. There's
the
there's no
combinations are done.
combination. Yeah, there's no combination
Yeah,
of cards you can play in Cards Against Humanity that I care about at this point. It doesn't
yeah,
exist.
it's we played it. We as a culture played it to death.
Yeah,
Uh,
and frankly, there are some cards in there that if you haven't thrown out, come on.
yeah,
Even
there's
even the
yeah,
makers have admitted they effed up on some of those cards.
yeah. But anyway, Cone of Shame. You have one person who's the reader. They just pick
Yep.
it up, ask the question. It has the answer on it if it's a trivia question. Some of them are, "What do you think this person's favorite blank is?" or something like that, which are also
Okay.
fun. And everyone has a little mini whiteboard, and you write down what your answer is on the whiteboard. You all show
Yep.
it at the same time, and here's where the Cone of Shame comes in. Because this
I'm not-
game, it doesn't have proper points. You just kind of play it till you get bored and you're done. Or you can come up with your own way of winning,
Sure,
which like they straight up just say in the rules, like, come up with your way that you win."
I like it.
But the person who has the worst answer has to wear the Cone of Shame, and
This is beautiful.
the Cone of Shame is that cone that you would have put on a pet when they had surgery and they can't chew on themselves. It is one of those. It's a Velcro. It's a size fits most. But the best is the instructions tell you that now that cone is where you write your answer. And the cone is just big enough that if you are a person that likes to consume beverages while playing games, uh, you won't be able to without spilling on yourself.
What if
We've
you have
tried a lot.
a really long straw?
That would be it. But like if you have anything in a glass or in a bottle, it is just tall enough that like the waterfall effect, you can't quite measure it too well.
Could you put like a martini glass on the ground and like drink it like a dog?
You could certainly try.
Okay. I'm trying to think about ways around this because Lord knows if I played this, I would end up wearing the cone multiple times. I got to figure out how to get the alcohol
But
and
yeah,
remove.
and that's a thing that I like to I want to mention as our time is slightly winding down. We've
Yeah.
got about 8 minutes left. But trivia games, I am a big fan of personally. Although the problem with trivia games is that you have to keep rebuying them because time passes and things change.
Yep. They do.
But also they're on the pricier side. But any game with props, I am into. Yes, I too have this.
You got crabs.
Yeah, I've got crabs.
That's
And now
a beautiful-
someone
that's-
and now someone can clip or gif this out
Yeah.
because this is happening. But
That's a beautiful game because if you have to wear the crab claws, it's so hard to hold cards.
oh, you can't. But like uh those are I guess we should get into like lists of things that we look for in board games whenever we like go looking.
I honestly have two camps of them, and it's what is the audience of gamer that I'm looking to please with this? Because
Mhm.
I recognize I'm an easy mark for a quality game. I've been playing board games basically my whole life. I loved them as a child, and then when I learned that as I got older, people started making games for grown-ups. I never had to grow up because I still get to be a kid playing board games, and it's awesome. So
Oh,
I look for
just made me sad
why.
because I don't want to grow up. I'm
Don't.
a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah, you know what? Don't grow up. I turned 40 a couple weeks ago, and
The
I'm
giraffe is dead.
Yeah, well, you know they're endangered, so protect the environment.
Yep.
Actually, you saying that, talking about not having to grow up, I'm going to throw one more game in this mix, but it's cheating. This one's cheating. This is a very specific game.
Okay.
If you can get your hands on a copy, or if you paid to get the reissue like I did, or if they make more copies of this reissue, get it. This is what I call the gateway drug game. See, maybe you have friends that you think would love D&D and you really want them to get into it, but they're kind of scared of the pencily papery stuff and they're scared of all the math and the numbers. And I can't wait till my reissue copy comes. It's supposed to get here next year, I believe.
Yep.
If you can get your hands on a copy of Hero Quest,
Yep.
arguably the greatest board game ever. It features characters straight out of what you'd expect in early editions of D&D. It
Yep.
has so much fun. It is dungeons, it's adventures. It's just played out on a board, and it comes with dungeons that excel in a story. You could get your friend hooked on this style game, and they're like, oh man, this is great, I'd love to play more stuff like this. And that's when you pull out the player's handbook and you slide it over to them and go, it's not that different. I promise you, it's not that different.
That is so fucking insidious.
Isn't it? It's great. But this game has basically got a human fighter or barbarian, whichever you want to call it. It's got an elven, what I would probably consider a ranger, because it's a spell sword, or you could consider it like a blade singer, but it's got too much hit points for that. It's got a dwarven thief, and then it's got a full-on mage, and it's awesome. If you're a spellcaster, your spells recharge between dungeons, high long rest. It's fun. It's fast-paced. There are not a lot of numbers to keep track of. The dice mechanics are simple. I still remember how to play Hero Quest from many, many years ago. I had one of the copies when it came out. My copy's probably still somewhere at my dad's place. But I don't even remember how many pieces of it I would still have at this point.
Right.
But I'm getting the reissue. That is the gateway drug game. Because if you can get somebody to buy in on Hero Quest, a dungeon would take maybe an hour to play. And then after that, they might go, oh, this was fun. And you just reintroduce D&D to the conversation.
That's so insidious.
Isn't it? This is actually one of the reasons I wanted it, because I remembered how fun it was, and I really want to play it with some of my D&D peeps so we can have quick, fast adventure type games, and this way we can play D&D on board game night. And
That's fair.
the people who are like, I don't know if I'd like it, I'll just go, let me introduce you to my friend Hero Quest.
Yeah.
And if you like this, we'll introduce you to D&D.
Man, that's just evil. That's like buying someone a set of dice.
Yeah, it is.
That's like buying a first time player their own set of dice. That's just mean.
And
That's
you know what
definitely
that first-time
not a
player
thing I've
always
done.
says? They're like, this is great. Now I have all the dice I'll need. You go, that's cute.
Oh crap, we sidelined away from the closing topic of games that we look, the types of things that we look for in games when we go out looking.
For me, I'm gonna look, how long does it take to play? How many people do I need to play it? Like those are the biggest things. If it can be played with 2 to 4 people and it takes 15 minutes, tell me more, because I love games and I don't want it to be a hard sell to my friends.
Yep. See, for me, I have 2 things that there are like 3 things that I do, and 2 things that I specifically look for is I go, all right, am I buying for a drinking game night or a board game night?
Yes.
And then from there I go and I look, I look at price at that point.
Yes.
Because like cheap, like inexpensive games usually are more fun for me. It's just a thing that I found, as well as like games that are on the clearance rack. It's not like it's food on the clearance rack, my dude.
Yeah. And I think one more game we would be totally remiss if we didn't bring up, because everyone has played it, and if you haven't played it, you totally should. But it holds up. It's always fun. It doesn't take long to play, and it doesn't matter how many people you have. Jenga.
Oh, see, I was thinking Mousetrap. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
Yes.
Jenga.
It's so simple.
It is.
But it's definitely still in board game rotation, because it's good.
It is, because when that tower falls, everyone reacts.
Yep.
It's the only game I can think of that no one's upset when they lose.
I have known a few people that have gotten very upset, but that's don't play Jenga with engineers.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Straight up, don't play Jenga with engineers.
That could be the next shirt right after con isn't a dump stat.
I mean, but it is sometimes, so there's that.
Never.
It
once.
it really is. It can be. It's fine. You don't have to. I'm really not.
You know what? This is the hill you're going to die on. Do you know why you're going to die? Because you didn't have any constitution.
But I'm not going to die because you're not going to hit me.
I hope you have a backup character for campaign 2. I'm just saying.
You know me. I make 25 million different characters that I never get to use.
Well, maybe you know what? Dump con every time and I'll work through all of them for you.
Well, I mean, I dumped con this time and we still haven't gotten to my second one.
You didn't dump con. It's a 10. I don't consider that a dump. A dump is 8.
Oh. We have different definitions of dump. I just considered a dump stat to be whatever your lowest is.
Nah, dump stats.
And not often do I play a character that's got an 8. I usually don't play characters that have an 8, so my dump is at a 10.
Character without an 8. That's weird to me. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. That's a story for a different time. We won't be here next week.
Oh yeah, we should have mentioned that at the top. Yeah, we're taking a break because I'm doing so much this weekend with Juneteenth and with my buddy's bachelor party, and just I need to rest. So we're taking a week.
We'll see you guys in July.
Yep. Oh hey, awesome how that worked out. We'll see you in July. Wait.
Yeah.
Is the 4th on? Is the 4th on a Thursday? We haven't looked ahead in the calendar. We'll do this not on the stream. We'll figure out our logistics later. But yes, so remember that we will not be here next week, but we will be the week after, and if we're not for some reason, we'll put it up on our Facebook and on our Instagram.
July 1st in 2 weeks. July 1st in 2 weeks.
Oh, great. Beautiful. Never mind then. So yeah. We will not be here this week, but we will be back the week after. Yep. And we'll also have the date for our one-shot that's coming up next.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be, I'll tell you now, it's going to be on July the 10th. It's a Saturday.
July 10th. Saturday the 10th. Be here for our next one-shot, which I don't know what it is.
You'll find out. I'm not telling yet.
Fair enough. I haven't made a million things for it yet. I will, but I haven't. So yeah, thank you for watching.
Thank you guys.
Please and thank you for doing the all the internet things to try and get us internet money, so we can get Bjorn a new computer.
Needed.
So that he's not trying to do this off of his tablet. Then I can have my computer doing half of the things instead of all of them,
which would be awesome. So
it'd be great. So yeah, please and thank you for doing all the internet things. Watch our episodes on YouTube. This one will be up on Saturday at noon, like they almost always are. Unless I mess up for some
businesses.
reason.
Do it. And don't brag about when you did it, by the way. Stop doing that.
Oh yeah.
Gods,
we could do a whole other episode just on that.
We
won't, because we're out of time.
We are.
So, to get out of here before one of us goes on an important rant, what do we always say?
Black Lives Matter, and do something nice for yourself this weekend.
Ooh, nice.